announcements and all those kind of things were gone. I am going to share my screen. Did it go?
No, nothing's coming off. I can't hear you or see you. Waiting for you.
Okay. I think we're actually in. I'm super excited. Welcome to our webinar, Google, So Much More Than Answers. My name is Cheryl Taylor, and I am the librarian at the Classical Center at Vial Elementary. I've been here for 10 years. I have 4 desktop computers, and then our campus has 5 carts of iPads that we share amongst 14 different classrooms, in 15 if you include the library. So we have some technology, but not enough that's one-to-one. But we do have some that is available for myself as well as my staff to use. My moderator today is Gina Saldana. Welcome, Gina. She's actually just like right across like 5 feet from me, but you didn't know that. She's our moderator today. She is the librarian at Davis Elementary, which ironically has the exact same floor plan as Vial Elementary. So it's like we were meant to be paired together. Well, today what we would like to do is go through and talk a little bit about Google and a lot of the different tools that Google has. Now, just begin by saying this webinar, the purpose of this is to be an overview of a lot of the available resources, not necessarily to do a detailed, let's see tons and tons of things that we can do with this material, because you know out there, it's toward the end of the year, you know what kind of things you're looking for, you know what kinds of tools you need and what kind of materials might be good for next year. Maybe something you were thinking, gosh, I wish I had, and you didn't. And so hopefully you'll get some ideas of some of the Google tools that are out there, and you'll realize Google really is more than just trying to find the answer to some strange question. It's more than just Google Classroom, which is a fantastic tool, but it's more than that. It's more than sheets and docs and images. It has so much information and so many tools and resources and platforms that are available. We just wanted to take an opportunity and kind of give you an overview so that you could look and see of some of the things that were out there, so that it would kind of get you thinking. And especially as the summer's getting started, maybe you spend a little bit of the time, you're laying on the beach thinking about what you're going to do next year. Come on, people, just go with me. And so you get some ideas of what kind of things you might be interested in starting up and trying out for next year. So first, we will go ahead and just kind of address, talked a little bit about us, talked a little bit about what this is about, why this is important. Well, mainly, my moderator and I felt this was an important topic because Google is available. It's available on any device, on any platform, whether it's Apple, Android, iPad, tablet, desktop computer, any kind of, even if it's just a smartphone, it's available on any platform. And so it's something that really teachers, it's very accessible to teachers. It's very accessible to students. So it's a platform that can be widely used. It's interesting. The content is interesting. Students are used to thinking about Google. It's one of those things that pops into their mind. So this could be a way to help them and kind of channel and teach them about using the resources that are available in a platform that they're already used to hearing about. One of the other things that's really fantastic about it is that it's free and it's available. So why not use it? Now, does this support the ISTE standards? It does. We're looking today at the knowledge construction standard that students plan and can employ effective research strategies to locate information and other resources for their intellectual and creative pursuits. A couple of things today that we'll get to, and hopefully we'll have time for those, are things that are just for fun, that are things that can just help students be more creative and kind of help them think. We want them to work in teams, and we want them to, kind of become creative problem solvers and creative thinkers, which means that we actually have to give them opportunities that allow for that type of creativity. And so hopefully today today, you'll see something that will kind of strike something in your mind that will give you an idea of something for either the end of this school year or even perhaps next year as you look at things for the following school year. Also, the other standard that's in here is that it will build knowledge by actively exploring, real world issues and problems. And a lot of the things that we will see are from Google Images and are real world things that you can look at. It's not just, something that's, a cartoon or something like that, that it is a real world situation. All right, let's continue. Our first tool is called Google Street View. Now, you may have used Google Street View before. This is a tool that you can use when you're trying to look at the street, okay? I mean, I know I've done this. You can type in your own address, and here I'm going to pull it up on my screen. I'm going to type in the address of my school, Creekview Drive in Garland. So here we are. And it's going to zoom in. Okay, here's the peg on the map. But then I also have a chance where I can pull up the street view. I can look and see, what's around and, kind of get an idea of, what does my campus look like and that kind of thing, which, okay, honestly, we've probably all looked at this and kind of thought to ourselves, okay, I mean, we've seen this before. I've got it. I can look at my house or my neighbor's house or whatever. Actually, one time I figured out what my mother-in-law's real address was. She'd given me the wrong address. I figured it out using this Google Street View. However, there are other uses for this too. You can also plug in other addresses. You could plug in other locations and go and look at other things. For example, I'm going to type in Grand Canyon. We won't look at Grand Cayman. Wow, that would just really make us ready for summer break, wouldn't it? So here's the Google Street View that just shows us some images of things that you could see at the Grand Canyon National Park. There are sites from the park. There's sites from what some of the cabins look like. You can kind of scroll around and look at the pictures just to get an idea of what some of these things look like. And you and I know that some of our students have had lots of experiences with the outside world and with traveling and with things that are available in the United States as well as around the world. And some of our students have not. So using this tool would be a good way to give those students an opportunity to see what kind of things are available and out there. Now, that's Google Street View. There's lots of opportunities that students could have. They could take a trip and explore actual locations that they're learning about. They could explore different locations and compare them, looking at images from, what their housing looks like, what their streets, what they're, comparing to different major cities, comparing Dallas with, New Delhi and comparing things like that they could do something with that. They can also, within Street View, look at, jumped ahead of myself there a little bit. There's also a specific locations within the Street View. And that is going to give you an opportunity to actually pick some of these locations, something more specific, something more fine-tuned, and allow your students to investigate and learn about different places. So we could start off with animals and wildlife.
Ms. Payne,
ignore that.
Ms. Payne, please
I don't think Ms. Payne's listening to this webinar anyway. Now, so we have lots of different things within the animals and wildlife, lots of different choices. And so you can scroll through this list. You can look and see what kind of things are available that, might go along with whatever unit you're trying to teach your students about, whatever animals you want them to see. A lot of them probably aren't going to go to, an area that has elephants that are roaming free, or they might never have a chance to see a whale underground or a sea turtle in the Great Barrier Reef. Here's an opportunity, and everything's organized for you, so you can simply find it and, have an opportunity to kind of scroll through some different tools and different materials. It also has different locations that you can investigate, just as, a few here. We'll kind of breeze through this quickly. Lots of different kinds of houses, Inca bridges and houses. So if you talk with your students about Native Americans from around the world and different cultures, you can have some opportunities to look at some different images for some different places that were around. All right. And just to give you some examples, all right, those are some other options that are within this search tool, all right. Next, the next thing that it does also offer is that it does offer that you can create your own 360-degree photos with this app, okay? So what you would do, and you know, if you're looking at the slide deck right now, you're noticing, hey, wait, that looks awfully familiar. Yes, it does. That's at the IRC. Or at the PDC in one of the back rooms. This was created by our digital learning team. Thank you. They created this to give us an idea, our I3s, an idea of what it could do. And so this gives you an idea. You can take a 360-degree photo of your classroom, of your backyard. You go somewhere interesting on vacation this summer that you think, man, I wish I could show my kids the Washington Monument 360 degrees around, or, you know, take a picture of what the Capitol looks like, or, you know, you go to a beach and you want to take a picture of what the different wildlife areas look like and the habitats that are within that certain section. Ignore this. I'm sure it's coming. So this tool gives you an idea of how to create your own.
Please call 43058. Ms. Kohlhoff, please call 43058. Thank you.
Sorry. So that you can create your own 360-degree street view. And so, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through and showing you how to do that or things like that. This mainly, again, this website is here to say, hey, if you're somewhere and you think, man, I wish I could show my kids this, you have the ability to use Google's platforms to make a 360-degree photo and take it and show your students. And use Google, use your Google Drive, use your Google Space to do something like this that's really creative and clever and show your students things that they may or may not get to see in real life. There are instructions here in this slide deck that show you how to go about making that 360-degree image. But again, you could also just go into 360-degree photos with Google Street View app. And I guarantee you, if you Google it, see what I did there, then you would have an opportunity and get some instructions there. And remember, you can always ask the I3 on your campus who also has access to this information, that I guarantee that person would be more than happy to help you in any way you needed. Now, next slide. We have two slides and they go together. They have very similar styles and offer very similar information. We have the Google Historic Figures. Now, Google Historic Figures is just that. It offers information about historical figures that are existing, you know, that either are alive or have passed on, but that somehow had their place in history. Now, when you pull up the screen, it's going to look like this. And as you can see, there's quite a collection of people. And the more I scroll down, it's not the end of the list. It's just taking a moment to populate. So as you can see, there's quite a long list of people that you can go through and search by. Now, you have several options of how you can search within this. This is all of them just listed. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure how it sorts them. It's, you know, not alphabetical or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure how it sorts them to create this all list, but they are sorted however Google seems to see fit. However, if you want to sort them in a different way because you don't really want to scroll through the entire list, you do have an opportunity to select A to Z. And then it's going to list all of the people that are in this platform. It'll have all of them listed based on their alphabetical name listing. So if you know you're looking for somebody whose last name starts with a T, if you put it in alphabetical, you can scroll, scroll, scroll until you find that person's last name. The other way you can also search, and if you see up at the top, it has the alphabet listed. So again, you wouldn't have to just scroll. You could say, oh, I'm looking for Q. And it's going to show us all the people that have Qs. I picked one that didn't have a lot just for fun. Now, The other way you can sort this is you can sort it as a timeline. So Google will set up a timeline for when these people existed in history, and then their photos are underneath that timeline. So you'll notice you've got quite a few people that are listed here, okay? And then you can again scroll through up at the top, pull that bar over, and it's going to show you people based on where they were in history. So again, you could look at this and you could use this with your students, comparing two different people. Where are they in the timeline? Now, I will go through and check, kind of select one of these. Let's just select this one, the first one, Fidel Castro, just so you get an idea of what it looks like. It has a picture. It has a birth and death date. And if they don't have a death date, obviously that would be blank. It also has information about that person. And then so you can obviously read more and get some information about them. Now, you can also organize the pictures by their popularity. In other words, how often they've been clicked on or used or something else. Or again, you can organize the pictures chronologically. So you do have, students do and yourself have opportunities and options for how you want to go ahead and search these materials. And it has a quote. Usually every one of these has a quote by that famous person and that historical figure. You also, right here, have the option that you could share this information. So if you have students divided up into groups and you wanted to drop this information, you wanted to make sure that they had it over a break or in their Google Classroom, or you just wanted to share it with a teacher that you're working with because, hey, we're studying Fidel Castro and you'd really like for her to see this, you can share it with that person and they can have that information also. Now, the next tool that's part of our Google historic things. And again, we do have a couple of ideas before I get to that. We have a couple of ideas and activities that, you know, they could compare and contrast to figures. They could find evidence if the person was a good leader or a bad leader or a good citizen or what they contributed. And then, so there's lots of different ways that you could use this in your classroom because it does provide information. Now, the next one is if they have it for people, they also have it for events. So we have Google Historic Events. And again, looks very similar to our historical figures. It's listed. Again, I'm not really sure how they list it when it says all, but they just have it listed out here for you, and you can scroll through and see lots of different things that they have available, different events. Again, you can change how it's organized. If you want it to be organized alphabetically, you can change that. You can also make it organized by time. Again, create yourself a virtual timeline so that you can say, oh, and kind of compare and contrast, you know, if you're talking about the Crimean War versus, you know, the California Gold Rush. I don't know why you'd be doing that, but if you are, you can do that and go ahead and set up the timelines for when things are happening so students can get an idea of where things fit historically. And again, you can pick any event you want. And in a manner very similar to, let's just pick, let's pick this one. It doesn't have a tongue, might not take so long to populate. So I picked the Victorian era. Again, you might say, wow, yep, looks very similar, virtually identical to historical figures. And so it does go through and it shows you other images. It has other content and stories that you can go ahead and read. Has that share feature. It gives you the dates for when this era is considered part of history. So it does give quite a lot of information for students. Now, one other thing we will look at while we're here, and this is just kind of for fun, because you might be thinking to yourself, holy cow, all these things are in Google and I had no idea. Well, Google has something, and I'm going to change my address bar here for just a moment. artsandculture.google.com is where all of this material is. So I'm going to go there. And when I go there, you're going to notice it looks a little bit different. Okay. It's a broader platform. But again, it has, you know, just some kind of general information at the top. It has a theme. It has featured stories right here, art, again, other things you can search through, different just information. Excuse me, sorry about that. Then it also has places you can explore through the Street View, which, hey, we saw that one in Street View. If you go up to the top and click the Explore button, because right here I'm at home, click the Explore button, it's going to show you a lot of the highlights. It's going to give you categories. Well, let's see. Artists, that was one of the categories. There's historic events. There's historical events. Or figures, sorry. So those two are just two components and two categories within this. There's artists, there's art movements, there's historical places, there's other collections of materials, and you can scroll to the side and see, oh, I can go to the Natural History Museum in the United Kingdom and get some information. There's also popular topics, different things that a lot of people are Googling, or maybe things that have been Googled a lot in the past and that things are that people are looking up. So again, this is just a different way. Oh, here are some 360 videos that have been created. Here's some things to get to Street View. So again, all of these things that we've talked about up until now are all available at artsandculture.google.com. And when you do that, it's going to come to this page right here. You're going to notice up at the top, it says Google Arts and Culture. And then that's the platform that you can go ahead and use. And again, you've got everything's listed right over here. You can look at if you like using the menu bars that way. So you do have lots of options and different ways that you can search things. Now, back to our webinar slides. Now, our next one. And this might be a tool that you may have seen before, you may not have seen before. There are lots of different note-taking platforms, but there's also one, Google's got to have one too, that's called Google Keep. And it's part of the Google Suite. Now, what I've taken a little screenshot here, sorry for the blue thing, I couldn't figure out how to make that go away because I have a dual screen, this is just an example of what kind of information and how you can use your Google Keep. You can go to different events, create different notes. You can color code them. Like these all came from an ed camp that I went to, so I color coded them all the same color. One of them was a different kind of category, so I made it a different color. I was making plans for this year and plans for different things. And so as I was creating those notes, I was changing the colors so that they could be organized for me. Basically, Google Keep is a note curation tool, and so it gives you a chance to kind of organize and keep those notes together. And I know there's lots of those out there, but this one is through Google. And so again, it's something that can be linked to your Google Drive. It's something that's going to be with you on any platform, anywhere, something you can share with people. If I wanted to share one of these notes with someone, I could very easily do it. And then that person could have that access to that same note that I'd already taken. If I wanted to share that or give someone some information from a workshop or something like that that I had attended. Now, next, just a couple more. Now, there's also something called Google Draw. And Google Draw is a workspace, all right? And again, as it says right here, it's a workspace, which is known as a canvas. And so it's an opportunity to use, again, our Google platform to create graphic organizers, okay? And there's lots of different ways that you can create those graphic organizers. Okay, and if you go into that, it's going to give you some options for Google Draw because you could do this in slides or sheets. Slides might be a little bit easier just because it's one that we're kind of used to seeing. Here we go. And you've got your shapes up here, your lines that you can draw. You know, if you're going to draw different lines or shapes, I'm not going to do that necessarily because it would take too long for me to actually make anything that was worth looking at. But you get the idea that just like in Word and in other documents, you do have the options to make shapes and lines and things like that so that you can actually create some different, excuse me, sorry about that. There's some shapes. So I could create some arrows, or if I wanted to put hearts or lightning bolts, or I wanted students to create a graphic organizer, or I'm trying to create a different kind of one-pager for students to use, I could do something here. They could create it and print it off or use it in a different format and just write in it themselves. Perhaps they're going to do that for a group project and then again, here's that Google toolbar that we're so used to seeing. There's all the shapes that we just saw. There's all the different kinds of lines. So you do have lots of different options as you're working and creating within Google. Again, there are other platforms that go ahead and do have this kind of drawing capability. You're exactly right. However, all of the things that we're trying to show you are all using Google. We're really trying to get students to be accustomed to using Google. And so what better platform is to go ahead and use that Google Draw, use those Google Keep, get students in the habit that their go-to place is their Google Classroom, Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Draw, all those different kinds of things that they can use and be able to curate all of their information fairly readily. Now, the next one, oh, sorry, there were some tips and tricks. Now, just for fun. So the next two that I'm going to show you are really, they're just fun Google things that exist in the world. Mystery animal. Now, mystery animal is one that you can go ahead.
Kaylee, come to the front office. Mom is here. Kaylee, come to the front office. Mom's here.
We have, and it looks like this. And so what you can do is you can talk to Google and you're going to try to guess the animal in 20 yes or no questions. And they show with a Google Home. But as long as you have a microphone attached to your system or your device, you can do this. And so you can ask it questions and, are you a mammal? Are you a reptile? Do you eat meat? Whatever kind of questions like that, and ask it those questions and then get the answers. And students, depending on what kind of unit you're talking about in science, whether you're talking about habitats or anything like that with animals, you could also go through and the students could say, oh, well, it's not a reptile, so it can't be, don't guess that it's a snake because I'm going to lose one of my questions, or don't guess, if I ask if it's an arachnid, don't ask if it's a spider and so it's kind of helping students fine tune those questioning skills, really kind of thinking. I will warn you a little bit about this site, and that is that sometimes it can be a little bit pickier than others. Like you might ask it a question and it might answer the question, so it may lead you to draw a conclusion. For example, one time when we did this, we asked it questions and the animal was a penguin. But based on the way it kept answering, it kind of made us wonder a little bit. So if I were you, if you decide you want to use this with your students, you may want to go in and right down here at the bottom, there's a preview it here. Preview it, try it out, ask it a few questions, kind of figure out for yourself some of the best ways to question it so that you can kind of coach your students and give them some inside information so that they'll know what's the best manner in which to use to kind of ask it questions so they can have an actual fun time with this tool. Now, the last one, and this one's really fun. Google Quick Draw. It's just for fun. It's Quick Draw is one-player Pictionary. So you basically, here, and I'll pull it up, okay? So here we've got Let's Draw. So I'm going to draw. And it's going to say, draw a basketball in under 20 seconds. So when I'm ready, when I think I've got it, I'm going to click Got It. So I'm supposed to start drawing.
I see circle, or clock, or baseball. I see computer mouse.
And I'm trying to get it to.
Or hula hoop, or watermelon.
Oh no, I guess my secret.
I know. It's basketball.
My secret's out. I'm a terrible artist. Okay, so, and it's kind of guessing as I'm drawing, and then sometimes I might get it, sometimes I might not. So let's see if I can get it to say.
I see rabbit's foot, or tree, or fan, or leafy tree. I see flamingo, or flower, or mosquito, or hula hoop. I see tree.
Oh no.
Or dog.
I'm not sure how to get it a better way. Oh well.
Sorry.
Let's see if I can get triangle.
Oh, I know. It's triangle.
Finally. All right. So you get the idea. And again, just something fun to do. if you have students who, have dexterity issues or things like that, it's something that they can practice with their drawing, getting, things like that. Google is the one that determines what the drawings are. So there isn't that didn't investigate too far, but I do not believe there's a way that you can go in and type in words to tell it to draw and all that kind of thing. It's just something for fun. And sometimes, there may be opportunities and times where you're just looking for something for students to do that would just kind of build some skills. Maybe they can work together. Maybe they could do this with partners, but just kind of build some skills and have a nice little time. Well, that concludes our Google giant, massive overview of about 100 million different things. I hope you feel like there was at least one you can kind of cling to and grab onto. Here in the next minute or two, my lovely moderator assistant will put the CPE link into our moderator box. And if there aren't any other questions or anything that people wanted to know about, I hope you all have a fantastic day and a great rest of the school year. We're on the downhill slide. That's what spring break always means. So hopefully you saw something in here today that you could really cling on to and use with your students, especially these last few months of school when you're really kind of battling springtime weather and trying to keep that attention in your classroom. Hopefully one of these things will be something that your students will really enjoy and that you all can do together and build some relationships and have a good time and just get to know that Google community a little bit better. You all have a great day, and thanks for listening.